And thank you all for being here. Again, this is Chicago Electronic Music Conference, our first one ever. Again, thank you for being here. It means so much. This next panel is for event producers, party starters, and also those looking to throw and learn about throwing your own events. The name of this is called DIY to Sold Out. We have some very talented promoters here, and we're still waiting on one more. She is coming, but I'll let Steve Noah do the introductions. The last 10 minutes we'll have Q&A. Feel free to come up closer. You don't need to sit further out, but wherever you're comfortable. Yeah, we'll get started. Leave it up with Steve.
Hello, guys. How are you doing today?
Good.
Are you good?
Doing very well, Steve. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Yeah. Anyways, so the main purpose of this talk will be just speak louder. Okay. So the purpose of this talk, obviously, is to just kind of demystify the clouds around producing successful events. So I'm going to start off, and while we're waiting for Flores to come in, we'll just get started on the questions with it. I mean, I think the first questions here is pretty straightforward. I mean, first off, like, I think we all would just like to know, how did you get into event promotion?
I started just going to shows in Chicago in 2016-ish. I was going to Smart Bar, Queen was this party that really inspired me. Started meeting people, throwing underground events. Got really inspired, really wanted to bring something to the table, especially not being from Chicago. But, hey, Amanda. No, you're good.
Good.
But yeah, just being around, just wanting to contribute, kind of finding your niche, whether it's curation, DJing, lighting, anything like that. That was something that I was really interested in, and just asking around, being like, how can I help? How can I contribute? That was definitely something that kind of really got me going here.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think the more that you just show up, the deeper in it you feel ingrained, and the more you feel like you're a part of something.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know that was definitely a big motivating factor for me, for sure. So, that's highly relatable. How about we hand it over to Flores, because I know you're just getting here, but we're on the first question. We're just wondering, how did you actually, and I'm very much wondering, how did you originally get into event promotion?
So sorry, I'm late. My car totally broke down.
It's all good.
So it started in 2017 as a resistance against the Trump administration.
Oh yeah.
To be honest.
Oh yeah.
The first show was called Resistance of the Pussy, but a lot of it too was I was in a metal band, and it was really hard to get booked. So we decided to start booking ourselves and booking other people who weren't getting booked.
That's really cool though. So like, were you like playing with your band and also DJing and doing shows at the same time, or?
First, I was just kind of getting to understand how to run everything with being in the band. Like, I would play and then run to the door and be like, okay, guys, thanks for, working the door. So I would work the door too, or like run around and like be partial security, or like help with the tacos.
Right. So would you say that you kind of already like learned some things prior, like from just that, being a part of that circle, like coming into it?
Yeah, it was very DIY, very punk.
Yeah.
Lots of just kind of whatever spaces that would pop up. So a lot of just in the moment, kind of figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. What about you, Casey?
Yeah, so I started doing events back in like 2006 is when I first started doing it. And originally like in St. Louis, and then when I went to Mizzou, so in Columbia.
Yes.
And then I moved back to Germany, and then I started doing events in Germany. And the main driving factor for that was I wanted to sort of add my own like flavor and artistic vision to like the local scene and contribute in a way like more than just as a DJ. And like Flores had just said, like it's another way to also like as an artist to like add gigs to your show when you've got maybe like scarcity for, like venues or a lot of like promoters if you're new to a certain area, they don't want to like take risks with new people in the scene. So
Right.
that's one way to kind of establish yourself. And I don't know. I've always kind of had fun with doing events. I like the whole planning of it. I like the, in a weird sort of masochistic sort of way, like the anxiety of it. Like, it kind of like makes me feel alive a little bit.
It's that
It's like,
Sisyphean boulder.
Completely agree with that.
I'm about to lose my shit. So, yeah, I enjoy it, and it's something that I've done. Like outside of like even music, I've gotten contracts to do like event marketing for like corporate clients and stuff, and that kind of like added some other perspectives on like budgeting and dealing with like multi-city type stuff. And yeah, it's I don't know, still here, still doing it. So
That's really awesome. I mean, I always love learning about just like what exactly like drove people to, get into the same things that we're all into here. So that's real cool. Moving forward, I would say, okay, so this next question here is, what is the first step you take when planning a new event, and how do you develop a concept that resonates with your audience? We can start with. Yeah.
So I'm really into film, and I like to create a vibe, kind of like a movie. And with the DJs, like it's always kind of a really eclectic group of people. But I tell them, look at the movie poster that I made, basically of the event, and think about the soundtrack that you would make in your own style. Like that's kind of what I go for when it comes to creating the vibe. And I just get super inspired by different images, and through those images, I create that type of atmosphere that I want people to feel like they're experiencing.
I feel like especially with the direction of your flyers, like for your parties, it definitely really kind of like gives that atmosphere, and that's really cool. Sean, what about you? I know like with Green Machine, it really kind of has like grown a world of its own.
Yeah, with Green Machine, I feel like in music right now, or just in general, a lot of it feels very serious, like being on a dance floor, no talking, it's like all those things are true, but I try to create like an experience where it's a little more laid back and relaxed. Like we do a lot of outdoor events. I think those are my favorite. We do it at my friend's sandwich shop out in their garden in the back lot. And, I like to try to keep it comfortable, relaxed. Like our flyers are really goofy and cartoony. It's like the most unserious underground you'll ever go to. I just want it to be fun, lighthearted. I think I want people to talk to each other, meet people. It's like a lot of times when we're on a dark dance floor, it's hard to like really meet people. And, maybe you won't get as many chances to do that. So, my first impression is, how can I be the most inviting for someone new who doesn't know me or who doesn't know what my party's about?
Right. The freedom to be yourself.
Exactly. Like it should be easy to go up to someone while someone's having a good time, or, hey, here's a joint. I don't know you. Like, what's your name? Like I want it to be super easy and lighthearted.
That's the, community forward in mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Casey, what about you?
When it comes to like, creating like a concept, one of the things I look for is I'm thinking first like the musical direction and then like the artistic direction as far as like the visual aspect of the events. And then I'm also thinking about like the community. It's like, I'm thinking a lot of times like, okay, like I know there's these people and they go to these parties. I know there's these people and they go to these parties. And I think I can bring this group together and it'd be a really cool vibe. And I think that's kind of where I start, and I kind of work backwards from there to, sort of come up with a concept where I feel like I can pull those people together.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like sort of like add my own little like vision onto the events.
Yeah, I think in your case it's pretty interesting too, because like you kind of have the task of like coming up with new sort of concepts on a pre-existing concept that that we all know as the warehouse, and taking that into the current day. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we actually that's actually
Yeah.
been a fun thing to do, and by fun I mean like painful. But yeah, when Robert Williams like started the warehouse, is basically just like Frankie or Robert playing. So I felt like that we had like a lot of room to like kind of grow and expand from there.
Yeah.
And my entire vision was like, first and foremost, I was like looking around not just like the Chicago scene, but like the world scene, and I was looking at like, okay, well, there's not a lot of black people on lineups, and these people made this music, and also like it was more of like I got tired of basically going to like bigger promoters and trying to advocate to put like gay and people of color on lineups, and I said, well, you know what, fuck it, like let's do this like for us by us, like we don't need them.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, my whole thing is I obviously try to bring in like a lot of OGs, and I don't just focus solely on like Chicago artists. My first event, I made a point to bring in Juan Atkins. And the reason for that is I want people to think kind of like outside the box, and I want to tell the entire story of house music and where it went. And, it obviously started here, and then Detroit took it and made something else out of it. And, New York had like their disco scene, and then I went overseas and what happened there. And since I've been in all of those markets, I've been in Europe, I've been in Detroit, New York, and et cetera, I have like a unique perspective on, kind of like the linear path of where this music went. And I sort of focus on telling that story with the warehouse and trying to rebrand it to get, younger people interested in the music as well and interested in the history.
That's really, really interesting, especially from your perspective. For those that don't know, Casey has been kind of spearheading the new age of the warehouse brand, and it's been really, really cool to see. I would love to talk about that, all day more, but I gotta move it forward just a little bit. So the next question for all of you is, how do you balance artistic vision with practical considerations like budget and logistics? Anyone can feel free to pick that one up first.
I'll go first. So I think first off, I want to make sure that my staff and my DJs are paid. So I start with that as my kind of main budget, and then I try to work around, what's the most important things after that, like visuals, fun things around the venue, things like that.
This is really interesting to talk about with you, especially because we're working on this together right now currently.
But it's like a lot of times we're on a limited budget and there isn't a ton of money to go around. So I try to, I have a lot of DJs also working these events with me. So if I can't pay them a lot, I try to give as many perks as I can, or try to get them on lineups, support them in other ways other than just money. Because sometimes a lot of the time, money isn't the most important thing. This is like a community event. People want to contribute as much as they can. And if I can help them get to where they want to be, on a limited budget, I try to do that. Yeah.
Very good answer. Flores?
So I pay myself last.
Yes.
And yeah, it's, I guess, just been like a domino effect. Like from the beginning, I'd have a smaller budget, but then you kind of put some money aside and you keep putting some money aside, and then you could have like bigger name DJs or be able to have a bigger budget for more touring and all that.
Right.
Basically.
And I mean, it's all very like a fluid thing. Budgets are case by case.
Yeah, reinvesting in your own party is something that I feel like most people should do if you're trying to start a new party, for sure.
Absolutely. If you want to keep it going and you want to strive for longevity, that's definitely number one. Casey, what about you?
I basically, it depends. So I've got two ways that I do events. One way is I go to a venue and I like sell the concept and I obtain a budget from the promoter or from the venue. And then the other way is, I'll like book out a space and like finance everything ourselves. But everything starts in Excel, basically.
Right.
And the big trick there is, I've been doing events for almost 20 years. So like the big thing that I've learned after losing tons of money is figuring out what all the small things that can happen that can arise. Like just something as simple as like the price for an Uber from one location to another, or, oh shit, we forgot to get enough water. Now we need like 5 more cases of water. And I think that's like, some of the things that you need to factor into, and kind of like that comes with experience, knowing like, okay, I've got X amount of guests. I need X amount of drinks. It's going to cost X amount of dollars. And I think the big thing is to be very pragmatic about things and not try to like be like, all right, yeah, I'm going to be rich off this event. Yeah. Next stop, Escalades. You know what I mean? Like I think the trick there is what I always like to do is I like to budget things in to where if we sell 50%, if we get 50% of the capacity of a venue like there, that's our break even.
Right.
And then I just get surprised by everything above that.
Right.
And so I've found that to be like the safer way, and it depends on if you're in a market, like let's say you've got an event series, let's say like for example, like the House Calls guys, right? They know they've got such a tuned in demographic that if they do an event, they know that there's gonna be a bunch of people going in.
Yep.
So they can maybe set their break even point to like 75% and splurge a little bit more on like lighting, different, effects, or more expensive space or more expensive sound. But I think it's like once you, kind of like get your crowd, you get your super fans and your people that are like loyal and come out to your events, from there you can start scaling things up. And once that becomes easy, then you can like figure about monetizing and growing.
Absolutely. I don't know like if how many people here know this or not, but almost 100% of the time, if you're you're a promoter throwing an event, you're operating in the red. And so, it's the first thing you have to think about doing is at least breaking even, and everything beyond that is a blessing.
The biggest thing I can tell you to like kind of avoid like going over budget is being really transparent and direct with your artist, because like your artist expenses are going to be your biggest ones. And one of the things that I do is I work almost solely with people that I have a relationship with, or that people that like share my vision. I'll reach out. I won't reach strictly out to like a booking agent, because a booking agent is just going to floss you and run your pockets.
Oh yeah.
So what I like to do is I like to either talk to the artists themselves, and if I can't talk to the artist, I try to speak to their management, and I pitch them on the idea, and I say to them, hey, look, here's our expenses for this event, and this is what it looks like. This is what I can guarantee you. If you're invested in our longevity and you want to see this exist, like, we'd love to have you. If not, then we can like approach us at a later date.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've definitely come to notice that like the agent versus promoter dance is a very delicate one, but if you step it right, you can, usually make some headway and compromise for what you're aiming for. This is, another thing that I, love to talk about. We've got another question here coming, and this is a good one, actually, and anybody feel free to take this. But if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice before your very first event, what would it be? I know, that's a tough one.
It's a labor of love.
Amen.
Sleep a little more before the event.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely don't party before the event, especially when it's a day party on a Sunday.
Sure
you have to be
get
there
your
at 8
shot
a.m.
Or partying too hard at the event, your own event, and having to do a breakdown afterwards. That sucks.
Yeah, the
no.
breaking down is worse.
Yeah. Yes, definitely heard there. And yeah, 6 to 8 hours at least. It's the key. All right, right on. Can any of you share a time when you felt like you failed, and what did you learn from that experience in the process?
I like starting with you.
No pressure.
I know, no pressure at all.
I mean, anytime you go under is feels like a failure because you have to work a little more in your day job to
Right.
make up for it.
Yeah.
So I just I know now to save a little more on the side for those emergencies, just in case. So.
Keep a savings fund open. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's yes, very smart. I was gonna like branch off of that by saying like, how did you know, what are some ways some of you guys bounce back from a setback like that?
I work a lot during the day in my regular job, so I'll be
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm picking up more shifts.
Definitely. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, most of us, I feel like, are like grinders, you know. I feel like
Yeah.
we do a lot of stuff as throwing events, you know, we obviously have our day jobs and we put a lot of time and effort into our events, which sometimes feels like almost even more work depending on what you're doing.
Right.
And, you know, obviously the return probably isn't going to be as consistent as your day job, but yeah, you know, like just saving money, you know, keep reinvesting into your events. You know, like I feel like the first at least year and a half, like I didn't take, you know, $1 from what we made. It was all just going back into our party. You know, I have 2 other people that are invested in our party too. And, you know, we all have jobs. We all are trying to just sink money into it. And, you know, while still trying to, you know, pay the bills. But, I guess, yeah.
Nice. Casey?
One of the things that I like to do is I like to pay for everything up front. That way I'm not like trying to like make up for debts like afterwards.
Yeah.
That's like a big mistake I learned like very, very young.
Oh, yeah,
was
sure.
like throwing events and thinking that like the ticket money was gonna like cover recoup things, and now you're sitting with like a 2K plus bill.
Yeah.
Sometimes way more. But yeah, I'd rather just, like I said, I just like do it, and then I know I've got the money to spend, and I don't expect to like see anything back. And when, you know, when you do start seeing returns, like I said, it's like a nice surprise, you know. And if you do things the right way and you really like focus on your marketing and you've got something that people like, and you know, just because maybe you didn't like break even on an event, I don't really necessarily view that as like a failure.
Right.
You know, if you threw an event and like in a 300 cap room and there's only 100 people there, but like 100 of those people there were like loved it.
grooving.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they loved it, and they're like, okay, let us know when you're having this again. We're coming back.
Absolutely.
Like odds are you can expect like another like 25 to 30% people are gonna come the next time, and it's really like a thing of like when you do like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 events. What I always say to people, and one of the biggest advice I can give, is literally take all the data that you have and put that like in a spreadsheet, like just like
Right.
track it.
Yeah.
Because then you can like monitor growth, and it's not as like soul sucking, you know, you're thinking like I'm never gonna break even, but if you look at the numbers, you're like, okay, like there's like 10 more people every show.
Yeah, and you
there's
can
this.
see tangibly the increments
Exactly.
increasing. Yeah.
So that's how I at least like justify my bad spending habits.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of similar to that again too. But was there ever like a particular concept that you had that you thought would work out, but it didn't as planned? And what did you learn from that?
Yeah, and don't do it again.
Yeah, dude. Straightforward. Yes. Anyone else?
I could think of one. I tried to do a warehouse party, kind of like a late evening, early night party that didn't really work out in terms of like people didn't really show up till, you know, like 8, 9 o'clock. Doing a warehouse party in the middle of the day is probably not the move. Definitely lost some money on that one. But, you know, I feel like everyone should be trying different things, you know, see what works, see what doesn't. You know, if you're in this for the long haul, trying to do the same thing over and over is not fresh. Try to keep it fresh, you know, see what, you know, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe everyone shows up at 4 p.m. in the middle of the afternoon. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know.
Awesome. Amanda? Got anything?
I guess like just keep to what your community likes and what your community is.
Yeah.
one time I kind of branched out into something that I didn't feel in my heart was my thing or like my people, but I was just trying to please one DJ. And it didn't really work out. Like, it just didn't feel right.
It's really, one of those things where you just can't fake the funk on it, right? Yeah, definitely. So let's see. We don't have that much time, but let's see. We're moving up along here. So now we're gonna move into the promotion aspect of things. We've been touching on planning and vision, but now this is, I guess, a little more down to the brass tacks of it. So first off, how do you build hype for your events, especially when starting from scratch?
The flyer.
What?
The flyer.
The flyer, yeah. Would you say like the flyer is the beginning for everybody here?
Yeah,
Or-
that and like having like a base community. So like having some people within the community that you can rely on that can work with you to help get the word out. I think that's like for me, like, obviously you can go and spend a bunch of money on an artist that'll draw a crowd, but is that really going to bring the community that you want? And then like secondly, like I think especially now like post COVID, everything's kind of been like reset in a way. So you don't really need these like big headliners. I think like storytelling and the people that you have at the event are more important than like the star power of a DJ. And I think
Fully.
I think like tools like TikTok,
Right.
like a lot of people shit on it, but it has like a lot of reach, and you've got to know your audience, and the entertainment industry is a young man's game, and especially like in this demographic, you're looking at largely people between the ages of 21 and 28 that are going out. So it's largely Gen Z. So
Absolutely.
go where your people are at, and then among the people that are still in your age group, use conventional methods like Instagram and word of mouth to
Yes.
get a community there.
Definitely. I mean, it's a thing where like the way that this generation moves or engages with things is always going to evolve, and so to evolve with it is as best as you can is certainly crucial. Working in media myself, I've definitely had plenty of those internal kind of memo meetings where we gotta find new ways to communicate to the youth, or the youth are gonna disconnect. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no forcing Gen Z into like the old ways. That ain't happening.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I beat that dead horse quite a few times.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Okay. Also, are there any unique or unconventional? I really like this question actually. Are there any unique or unconventional promo strategies that you've found are particularly effective for anybody?
Honestly, this was one of the questions that I had a little trouble with, but for me, I don't think I've ever done anything super unconventional that I can think of. It's just a lot of face-to-face, word of mouth, obviously social media. I feel like we're living in the digital age, so you kind of have to get with the times a little bit in order to kind of really push your brand.
Right.
I mean, kind of going into the social media thing, I'm not a big fan of TikTok because I like to have my party kind of have a little mystery behind it.
Right.
I feel like Instagram is really the only thing I really like to use. It kind of, I don't know, like to each their own, right? Like,
For sure.
I guess I'm not like really engaged with the younger folks as much, but I try my best to still put myself out there, still go out, still hand out flyers, still try to, just kind of do it the DIY way. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm no fun. I'm not unique in any way. I just try to, grind it out and do it that way.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sure.
True.
Absolutely. And Amanda, would you have anything to add to that, or?
So, like, instead of using like social media platforms like that, we'll do stuff like
Word of
I'll
mouth.
buy an extra case of beer and be like, the first 50 people coming in get a free beer. Or like, so we also know that it's gonna be busy throughout the night. And I'll say like at 4:20 during my set, I'm gonna give out some free joints. So
I've
forces
noticed
me-
that, and I'm like, that's really cool. Yeah, you know,
even think of that. That's so
incentivize
true.
people to stay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like people come early.
And come early.
stay, Yeah. We did a egg hunt once where we were promoting like, hey, we have this egg, find it in the rave, and you can get like a free drink or a free
awesome.
joint. So we'll do weird shit like that.
See, I love that.
We just did a 420 event. And I'm like talking about not doing anything cool or unique.
I was gonna
Literally-
say, like,
we're literally
didn't you
giving
just
away
do
like
that?
free weed and shirts all night.
Yeah.
That's what's up, guys. So could anyone here share a time when a collaboration really elevated an event, or when it caused unexpected challenges?
I'd say most of my collaborations have been really good. There was one moment last year where we were throwing a warehouse party and we got there at 5 o'clock, and I was working with 2 other crews, and I think the owner just forgot that there was a party that night, and we were just outside in the freezing cold for like 3 hours. But our friend Carrie from Club Hospitality went it upon herself to go on a side quest and find these keys and find the owner. 8:30 comes around, our party starts at 10, we finally get into the door. We have 3 crews, we have 2 rooms, a bar, we have like so much to do in such a short amount of time. Somehow pulled it off. You know, everyone just kind of knew exactly what to do, what their strengths were. You know, and just like having faith in your team and knowing that they can do stuff under pressure, like Casey was saying. Sometimes,
Yes.
like, honestly, that's like the best way to get stuff done is when you're under pressure. And I thought that was a really good experience. Collaborations that I didn't have a good experience, I think there's some crews that are a little more club forward and don't understand the DIY as much. Not saying that they're bad in any way, but I think just having experience doing some of your own DIY events and then collabing so you kind of know what your strengths are is like really a big thing. Because sometimes it almost feels like you're doing a lot of the work and kind of telling them what to do a lot of the time versus just knowing what to do, you know, like, I don't know.
No, that's really awesome. I mean, like, you know, there's different ways everyone adapts. We don't have the most time left, so I just want to try and breeze more through these as we go. So now we're on execution. What are the biggest challenges you faced on the day of an event, and how did you handle them?
For me, the biggest thing is like really sitting down in advance of the event. Like I don't like doing, like if I do an event, for example, like we have an event July 26th in Barcelona. I started planning this event back in January. So a lot of the things that I'm looking at is I'm looking at logistics, I'm looking at all of the like to-dos and stuff, and I make like a thorough to-do list. I work with our like local promoters and like the venue. I like send them that stuff, and I like have everything double checked, and I make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's as much as possible.
Okay.
But I think like the biggest thing there is like operating in advance and like getting everything done, and then like kind of like just moving through time until the event happens in a way, like doing all the hard work and heavy lifting in let's say 3-4 months in advance, and then just waiting your turn until that happens. And
Right.
you know, a lot of that is like having a competent team in place as well. So, and then task delegation. Task delegation is super, super important. I can't stress that enough. Like, I make sure that like if I'm at an event and I'm promoting an event, I've got everybody for like taking care of green, logistics, getting artists to and from the airport and the hotels. I got somebody that's like managing the door. I've got somebody that's like stage managing. So that way, as like the promoter, you can basically, you're free to like handle any like pop-up emergency things.
Certainly.
And, you know, the big thing is not to like, you know, overburden yourself, I think. That's
Okay.
like kind of like my advice.
Awesome. We'll take answers from Amanda and Sean, and then I think we're gonna open the floor up to Q&A.
So, same warehouse.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. So it just depends on what kind of random obstacle is going to be there at that moment. You don't know until you're there. We have to move a bunch of chairs and couches. Once I've shoveled flooded water
Yeah.
for 4 hours.
Oh my God. I was there.
You really just don't know what's going to happen. One thing I don't
Yeah.
like the most is when people text you at 10 p.m. asking for guest list. I am not going to answer
Amen.
after 8. I am not answering anymore. So,
Amen to that.
I think honestly, it's just specifically undergrounds, I feel like you should always have a mindset and go into an event knowing something's wrong is going to happen. You know, nothing in the DIY ever goes completely smoothly. So I think you should always have plans in place to pivot or to have extra hands or, you know, have people dedicated to certain parts of the show, like Casey was saying, sound, curation, lights, bar, like so you are more freed up to help in the spaces that are slacking or, you know, that need a little extra help when it's crunch time. Don't overburden yourself. You know, you want to keep a level head. It's going to be a long night, so don't stress yourself out early because, you know, you want to also enjoy your own party too.
Yeah, don't forget to have fun. That's very important.
Definitely. That's the
Super
most important
important.
rule. Never forget to have fun. All right, right on, guys. So I think as we're winding down to the last 13 minutes or so here, I want to just open the floor up to any questions that people might have. Start right up here at the front.
Hi, how are y'all doing? My name is Crow. I have a question for KC. And what are the examples? So earlier you was talking about like you blending like fusions of like different like people that you know what I'm saying? So like let's say cultures, for example. So if you're blending these different cultures, how are you going about, like what are the examples of this blend of cultures? And then can you give me one of your favorite events that you like blended these cultures together?
Yeah, you know, what I like to do, like I said, like we do events like we had our event in like Berghain, for example, last year, and I had like Jamie 326 playing, and then
wow.
we brought in like an artist from Manchester who's like the understudy of Mr. G. So that was like an example of like, you know, taking the London story and taking the Chicago story, because Mr. G's lineage also goes back to Chicago as
Yes.
well, because it was like the Chicago guys that came to London that taught Mr. G, who then taught his protege. So that's like one way to do it. Another thing is like in Chicago, you know, we have got a lot of like the guys like live here still. You know, we had like Shay Demir recently, and yeah, like having Shay's he's still actively touring, you know, and having him with like some of the younger artists from Chicago is like a way to kind of like blend the old with the new. And I always try to like do that. Like I always like to have like the young kids, and I like to have some of the old heads as well.
Right.
Sometimes I only focus on some of the younger guys, but you know that's kind of like the thing. I basically focus on like artists that are coming from either the Midwest or New York, or European artists that are like representing that sound that kind of fit into like the marginalized people category,
Right.
or allies. Essentially my criteria.
Absolutely. And everything. I think now more than ever, you know, that's important to center, you know.
Yes.
Yes, 100%. Definitely can't
We are in the
stress
middle
that
of a
enough.
class war.
Word. All right. So I just realized that this microphone is, you know, being attached to a wire, I'm not going to be able to pass it out to everyone in the crowd. But if whoever has a question, if you could raise your hand and just speak loudly. Hello.
Hi, I'm Allie. I have a really loud voice, so it's all good. What recommendations do you have, well, for all three of you, sorry, to connect with different venues and bars and grow parties there, especially when you're starting from like ground zero? That was exactly the question I was going to ask. Hi, I'm experienced. I thought that was so important to talk about.
Wow. Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, start out with the parties that you like going to. You know, see if you know the promoter. You know, make chit chat. You know, start meeting people. You know, ask questions. go online, look, try to find some emails, honestly, how I started too, just kind of cold emailing people and, see if people respond, see who's receptive. I mean, the worst thing that they're going to say is nothing. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like most promoters, especially like DIY or like local, like bars, like, like a Swig or, like Podlasha Club, everyone's pretty friendly. So I feel like it wouldn't be too hard to just like, hey, I'm interested in throwing an event. Can you point me in the right direction? Yeah, yeah. It's not
Definitely.
as scary as you think, I promise.
No, definitely. Worst thing they can say is no. Yeah. Anybody else got an answer for that, or does anyone else have a question? In the blue.
Question. We live in a pretty parasocial, like, life DJing with each other and stuff. We kind of know each other. And I see that, like, you guys, like, and, like, everyone that's at Trend Throw events has, like, very similar experiences, like, DIY has sold out. In the middle of the transition, are you contributing to that, like, throwing, like you said, like, a third, fourth, fifth party? Is that what it is? It's just consistency? Or do you contribute to more, like, creativeness and, like, throwing, like, out of the box parties?
I think it depends. Like for example, maybe it's different for the guys that are like here living in Chicago, but I know like when I do events in Chicago, since I'm not originally from here, one of the challenges that I had was like kind of like getting that word of mouth. So I like to like just like start as small as possible, and then from there like build the community and just like get to know people. Like I love going to when I do my events, like just if I'm not like hiding backstage, I like to go and like just like talk to people and like really kind of get to connect with people on like a personal level. And then from there, like, yeah, like it's if you're starting off something new, you should expect to throw 4, 5, 6 events before, it's really going to kind of gain any traction.
Word. Anybody else in the red back here?
Yeah, Wes, I just had a question about dealing with the nightlife and sometimes the unprofessionalism that can happen, chaotic things that happen. What do you guys go to stay grounded and be professional and protect what you guys are trying to build?
Yeah, good to see you again, Pete. Yeah. Anyone want to take that?
Honestly, if it's like maybe like a venue specifically, I like to talk to other promoters who I'm really good friends with, who I might, throw parties with, talk to them about it, see what their experiences are, and see how they've handled it. In particular, I haven't had too many bad experiences, but honestly, I'll just email them, share my experience, see how we can go forward and make it better. Because I think transparency, especially if it's a spot that you consistently do shows with or want to do more shows with or at, I think is the best way to figure out if it's a good fit. Because
Right.
as much as you want to do things at certain places, if it's not a good fit, I think you should go with your gut and try to find someplace else that is more supportive and will be more open to constructive criticism. Because, like I said earlier, not everything is going to go perfectly as planned, like you probably know. But yeah, I think transparency and honesty, and also just, hey, I didn't have that great of a time, or I felt like I, wasn't respected, or, this thing happened. Like being honest, see how we can move forward and be better, because that's the only way things will get better is if you're open about it.
Most definitely.
You're definitely going to deal with, this is part of like kind of like earning your stripes. That's kind of like unavoidable, I feel like, if
Yeah.
you're doing stuff long enough. I've worked with venues before where they've got like a bar minimum and a POS system, and I've watched like the bartenders like take cash and like not enter it into the POS system.
Ooh.
So one of the ways that I learned to go about that is when I get presented with actually a bar minimum, this is actually a red flag for me. And what I always say is, okay, well then, if I feel like the numbers aren't matching up, like, can I audit your bar? And I just kind of watch them squirm. And if they do that, then I just kind of keep it moving. It's not worth it's not worth wasting your time with people that are going to do that. You know, I've been like literally like robbed at events
Yeah.
through other promoters and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's just a matter of knowing who they are, and it's, you know, the whole like fool me once, but never
Shame
again
on
kind
you.
of thing.
Yes. No, definitely. You know, they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah. Anyways, anyone else have questions? Yes.
Thanks for your time.
Front 242.
How do you guys choose your talent?
That's a really good question.
We all look at the flyer, we look at that artist or a couple artists that usually drive us to the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone want to take
Yeah, so I also look and see how much they're playing. If they're playing like constantly, I'm gonna hesitate on putting them on so I can put somebody else on. And I do look at, like, I like to branch out different groups of people, like different scenes, to bring them together. Like I said earlier, I'm like, this is the vibe, how your style is, just bring those vibes in your style. And I do really focus on BIPOC and LGBTQIA, so that's the priority first.
Yes.
People who need to be elevated, basically.
Word up.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Amanda on that.
100%.
I try to, in most of my events, I don't really like to do too many repeat DJs. I like, you know, there's so many good DJs in Chicago, especially talking about local, you know, like we don't have like a specific sound at Green Machine. You know, I feel like, you know, different place, different times, different vibe. You know, I like to bring a little bit of everything and support as many people as I can. Obviously, you know, you'll put your friends on a little bit more than maybe people that you're not, you know, personal with. But for bigger DJs, I really like to go out of town and really get inspired by, you know, DJs that I listen to on the dance floor, specifically because in Chicago, a lot of the times, you know, I get caught up talking a lot when I'm at shows versus like dancing and like, you know, losing myself kind of thing. So it's nice to go out to like Detroit or Minneapolis and like hear what they have to offer and really listen. And then, you know, a lot of the times most people here will be like, I have no idea who that is. And that kind of brings that mystery that I like to bring. You know, people, if you build your party up long enough, people will trust your party and come and listen no matter what kind of music it is. You know, I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 3 years of doing my Green Machine thing.
Definitely. There's something to be said about, you know, just a promoter that you know is going to put you on the game every time.
Yeah, one of the things that I like to do since I work across multiple markets is first thing I talk to like the venue's talent buyer and I propose like a list of artists and I use their personal experience with their own markets to see which ones they think work best. I also work with like a touring ticketing company called Magnify and they have lots of like, I mean, they've got like servers full of like data and analytics based off of like an artist's profile. So that's like one of the things you can do as well is work with like ticketing companies if you ever like start touring a concept. And then working with like different like press outlets and press agencies like Resident Advisor. They have a lot of data and information on you know, different markets where they're like selling tickets and they can, you know, you can lean on them and say, hey, you know, we see you guys like sold tickets in this market or you had events here or you guys are based here. Like how does this sound generally work in this market?
Yeah.
So I think it's about collecting a bunch of data and trying to make as an informed decision as possible while at the same time staying true to your own brand.
Most definitely. So we're down to the last minute here, guys. I just wanted to thank all of you again for coming. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Casey. All of your
Thank you,
insight.
Steve.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. This has been
thanks
such
everyone
a
for listening.
This has
Really
been such a
appreciate
pleasure,
that.
you guys. Yeah. Thank you.